Ever get that feeling, like a song just kind of gets you right in the feels? Well, get ready to feel that times 1,000, because today's deep dive is all about the music that's practically America's soundtrack, country music. And let me tell you, the stuff you dug up for this one, it's pure gold.
Couldn't agree more. Country music, it's got this history, it's a long and winding road from those Appalachian hollers all the way to those stadium-sized concerts they have now. We're going to unpack all that.
Hit the road, baby. And speaking of the article, it kicks off in those very mountains, the Appalachians. Way back before anyone even dreamed of recording music, it was all about these powerful ballads passed down through families.
It's wild, right, to think about those songs, not just as tunes, but as little pieces of history, tales of love gone wrong, tough times, the stuff life's made of, passed down from grandmas to grandkids, stuff like Barbara Allen, the House Carpenter, songs that wove folks together.
And those stories, they weren't just sung, were they? They came alive with instruments that just scream country, even today, the fiddle and the banjo. The article, it calls it a real blend of cultures, which, gotta admit, has me curious.
Oh, it's a whole story in itself. So you've got the fiddle, right? Straight out of European folk music, that's its jam. And then comes the banjo, brought over by, enslaved Africans. It's a heartbreaking history, but the music that came from it, that fusion, it's something else. That's the heart of country right there,
And then things get really interesting. We hit 1927, the Bristol Sessions. The article calls it the Big Bang of country music. What went down in Bristol?
All right, so picture Bristol, Tennessee. This guy, Ralph Peer, a record producer, sets up shop. He's got this hunch, see?
Right.
Believes there's magic in the music coming out of those Appalachian Mountains, and boy, was he right. He captures these recordings, especially of two artists, and bam! Music history changes forever.
Hold on, you're talking about the Carter family and Jimmie Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Two names even folks who just dabble in country know.
Bingo! The Carter family, they had those harmonies so close, almost haunting, That sound, it's pure bluegrass, gospel-infused country. Even today, it's that sound. Songs like Can the Circle Be Unbroken, Wildwood Flower, they just got under people's skin. Still do.
That's the sound of, family gathered around on a summer night, sharing stories and songs. And then there's Jimmie Rodgers, the singing brakeman. What a nickname. What did he bring to the party?
Rodgers, he was one of a kind. You can hear those Appalachian roots in his sound, for sure, but then he throws in some blues, a dash of gospel, even a hint of jazz. Oh, and then there's the yodeling. Dude was not afraid to experiment, blending it all together, and bam, his own unique sound. Can't even imagine how country music would have turned out without him.
So we've gone from mountain songs to, proper recordings. This is where country music starts to, grow up.
In a way, yeah, you could say that. And part of that whole growing up thing, that was the honky tonk explosion in the 40s.
Honky tonk, all right. Now you're talking dusty bars, twangy guitars, maybe a few tears in your beer. What was it about that honky tonk sound?
You got it. That image. That's honky tonk. It was rougher around the edges, more real than those earlier recordings. Imagine these smoky bars full of working folks just trying to unwind after a long day. The music reflected all that, faster, with that steel guitar whine, lyrics about heartbreak, about hard living, but also about good times. It was all there.
And you can't talk about honky tonk without mentioning the man himself, Hank Williams.
Hank Williams, man, he wasn't just a honky tonk guy. He was a straight up pioneer. They call him the father of modern country music for a reason.
I mean, besides the obvious talent, what was it about Hank Williams that earned him that title?
His songs, they were raw, full of pain, realness. When he sang Your Cheatin' Heart or I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, man, you felt it. He had this way of singing about things everyone goes through, even if you weren't a honky-tonk regular. That rawness, that's something you can still hear in country music today.
It's amazing how he just connected with people. But country music wasn't always about raw emotion and steel guitars, was it? In the 50s and 60s, it kind of went through a makeover.
Oh, yeah, it did. That's when you get the Nashville sound.
So, country music put on a suit and tie.
Pretty much. Guys like Chet Atkins, Owen Bradley, they were calling the shots, and they wanted to bring country to the masses. They brought in strings, background vocals, all that. Think less honky-tonk grit, more, smooth crooning.
Was that a good thing, or?
Man, that's a question that still gets people fired up. On the one hand, it brought country to a much bigger audience, no doubt. But some folks felt like it lost some of that realness, trying to be so mainstream. Created this kind of tension in the genre between staying true to its roots and wanting to grow. And out of that tension, something pretty cool happened. Think like musical revolution, that whole push and pull, roots versus going big, it birthed something new, outlaw country.
Now you're talking. The rebels, the ones who played by their own rules. Man, outlaw country, that's my kind of music. Who comes to mind when you hear that, outlaw country?
That'd be the man himself, right? Johnny Cash.
The Man in Black, legend. What was it about him, especially back then, that made him such a force in country music?
It went way beyond the black clothes and the cool act. Cash's music, it had this rawness, this honesty that cut through all the BS. When he sang Folsom Prison Blues about, being locked up, or I Walk the Line, about those temptations everyone faces, man, he wasn't just singing, he was living it. You felt that.
He had that been there, done that vibe in every word. And he wasn't afraid to get real, right? Didn't shy away from tough topics.
Not one bit. Cash, he was all about fighting for what he believed in. Prisoners' rights, he sang about that. Spoke out against the Vietnam War, even recorded an entire album live at Folsom Prison, shining a light on folks most people forgot about. Challenging the system, that was Cash. And people, they connected with that.
Music that makes you think, that moves you, man, that powerful. But Cash wasn't the only outlaw in town. What about Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings? They were in that mix too, right?
Those guys. Cut from the same cloth for sure. Didn't care about fitting in. Willie, with the braids and that smooth voice he gave us On the Road Again, yeah. But he also stood up for farmers with Farm Aid. Always a voice for the little guy,
And Waylon Jennings, man, he just oozed that outlaw attitude.
No doubt. Songs like Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, they became anthems for folks who felt like they were on the outside looking in. Willie, Waylon, Johnny, they proved you could make it in country music without selling out, without losing yourself.
It's wild though, right? Country could be that slick Nashville sound and the grit of the Outlaws all at once. And then you've got someone like Dolly Parton, who somehow bridges those worlds.
Dolly Parton, there's no one like her. Amazing songwriter, performer, businesswoman, icon, the whole package.
Jolene, I Will Always Love You. I mean, those songs are timeless. Everybody knows them. What's her secret, you think?
It's that human touch, She sings about heartbreak, for sure, but also about being strong, getting back up, chasing those dreams. Never forgot where she came from, those Appalachian roots. But she wasn't afraid to add some pop flair either. And through it all, breaking down walls for women in country music.
She showed the world you could be glamorous and down to earth, a songwriting genius, and a total boss, all at the same time.
Exactly. Dolly, she didn't wait for anyone to give her the green light. She made her own rules. And in doing that, opened doors for so many women in country music.
From those mountain songs to the honky tonks to the Outlaws to Dolly, man, what a ride. Country music has had some serious makeovers. But this deep dive, it ain't over yet, is it?
No way. Country music, it's alive, man. Always changing, always adapting. Even after the Outlaws, there were new waves coming.
All right, hit me. What came next? Who shook things up after the Outlaws rode off into the sunset?
Hold on tight, because the 80s and 90s, they brought the country pop boom. And with it, artists like Garth Brooks and Shania Twain, they took the world by storm.
Garth Brooks, man. Talk about a country superstar. The 90s, that was his era. What was it about him that packed those stadiums?
The man knew how to put on a show, that's for sure. He took those classic country roots, right? And he plugged them into, like, a rock concert. Pyrotechnics, the whole 9 yards, people went wild for it.
And it wasn't just the diehards in the crowd, was it? He had those songs. Everyone knew them.
No doubt. Friends in Low Places, the Thunder Rolls, instant classics. He could tell a story, one that connected with everybody, whether they were wearing cowboy boots or not.
He really blew the roof off of what country music could be. And speaking of breaking the mold, Shania Twain, she took that country pop sound and just owned it.
Shania. Oh, she was a force of nature.
Yeah.
Pop hooks, girl power, she brought it all. I mean, who could forget, Man, I Feel Like a Woman, or That Don't Impress Me Much?
Those songs were everywhere.
Yeah.
And in a genre that, let's face it, had mostly been guys, she made her mark.
Totally. And she did it her way, Mixing pop and country, owning her femininity, her strength. Can't tell the story of country music without her.
Man, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, from those Appalachian ballads to where we are now. Front porches to honky tonks and these massive shows. What's the biggest takeaway for you looking back on all this?
It's that country music never sits still. It's always changing, but somehow it always stays true to itself. It's about real life, the good, the bad, the heartache. That's why it still connects with people, I think.
It's like a reflection of America, right? From those early days, blending musical traditions to the sounds we hear now, always evolving, but those roots, they run deep.
It makes you wonder where it goes from here, Who'll be the next big voice? What stories will they tell? But one thing's for sure, country music will keep on changing. And that's what makes it so amazing.